this one right here. I just seen a video by Skip Bayless on his channel, and he's part of the media, folks, blaming Luka Doncic for the failures of the Lakers. And let me before I get into this, to me, I did a lot of investigation. Well, not investigation. I was able to go back and watch a lot of film or a lot of old videos of what was it, First Take, Cold Pizza, First and 10, and look and analyze and watch and listen to the old Skip Bayless, folks. I'm gonna tell you what, you can call it a conspiracy all you want, that's fine with me, but to me, this is not the old Skip Bayless. To me, it just isn't, folks. I don't know if they replaced this guy or what. That's what I'm thinking, but this is not the old Skip Bayless, folks. And to me, what really set it off to me, not only because his mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he acts, I think it was on First Take. I think he was with Shannon Sharp, and one day he tells us that you could never imagine, if you listen to the old Skip Bayless before he went on with Shannon Sharp. Actually, when he went on with Shannon Sharp, he was still stout. He still stand on business and what he believed in, and he gave LeBron the business and any other dude the business and stuff like that. But one day he said, I don't know if it was after that incident with that Buffalo Bills player, I forget his name. I think he got hit or he hit another guy or whatever it was, and he was unconscious for a hot minute. And then the next day on Undisputed, Skip Bayless proposed that the guy was pretty much faking or something like that, and nothing was wrong with him, and it was just this whole big, I don't know what you want to call it. It was just a big thing. Shannon Sharp came on the he didn't come on the show. I think Skip Bayless didn't actually say it on the show. I think he said it on another, I forget how it happened. But Shannon Sharp didn't come on the show the next day because Skip Bayless said that, and he came on the next day and they got in a fight over it, whatever like that. But since that day, Skip Bayless start kissing LeBron's butt, start saying all these crazy things. He's the greatest driver of the basketball he ever seen. A guy who plays in a era where there's basically no defense. Defense was outlawed. You would get suspended if you practice defense and practice. I mean, it's so ridiculous that he would say those things. And I think he started saying that stuff after he said that about that NFL player that dropped lifelessly or whatever happened to him. And he was trying to make amends with the show, the crowd, or whatever like that. He was trying to do. And from that day, he just started kissing LeBron's butt. But he also said one day that it's just mind blowing that you just won't even imagine the old Skip Bayless saying something so ludicrous, right? Because the way he talked, it ain't like he didn't like LeBron, but he just gave it like it was, right? He just gave his opinion like it was supposed to be given. I mean, the guy, if he melted down, if he said stuff that he wasn't supposed to say, if he didn't come through in the clutch, all these things, he would just give it to LeBron or any player, like I said, like it was supposed to be given. But he goes on to say one day that he has never missed a LeBron James game. And that wasn't that bad. But also he goes on to say that it didn't matter what was going on in his life, whether it was an anniversary, somebody's birthday, whatever it was, that had to be on the back burner. His mama's birthday, he going out with his wife on Valentine's Day, whatever it was, it had to be on the back burner if LeBron James was playing. And he said that it happened basically all the way since he came into the league up until that point, and he was on Undisputed. Like, what is this guy talking about? All this supposed criticism that you gave to LeBron James over the years, and you would say, what will possess you to watch every game that he played? What? That would be like, basically saying you're a big LeBron James fan. That would be like me. I said in the past, from, I don't know, about 88, 89, I never missed a Michael Jordan game. Now, did I say, oh, okay, if it was, an anniversary or a wedding or, what I'm saying, I'm going out with my wife or something, that had to be on the back burner? No, I never said that. But it was just, it just so happened that I wasn't doing nothing at the time. And most of the time I was a little kid growing up until I was like a young adult. So I did have time to watch his games without putting real important things on the back burner. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I would stop, I'm not going out with my homeboys tonight. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going out to the club or something like that. But as far as like, a family function or something like that, no. No. No, I would never diss my family and diss my wife over a Michael Jordan game. That sounds like the most ridiculous thing. But that would be like me saying, I haven't been that critical of any sports player. You know what I'm saying? Like Skip Bayless in general. But that would be like me today saying I'm gonna put everything on the back burner to see a LeBron game. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going out. I'm not going to anniversary. I'm not going to a wedding and all this stuff with my family, a birthday with my family or something like that. That would be the most ridiculous thing for me to say, that I'm going to put all that on the back burner to see a LeBron James game. Somebody that I criticize based on, how he acts, his game and stuff like that. But I just thought I would say that first about Skip Bayless, that he would say that on Undisputed. I don't know. Maybe this was about 3 years ago or something like that, after the, what was his name? The Mar Hamlin thing. So he's on his show. I don't know if he made a video today or yesterday, but he's talking about Luka is basically the problem. Well, it's going to be the problem in the future in the playoffs with the Lakers because he shoots too many threes. And he goes on to tell people that don't think this isn't the reason why the Mavs got rid of Luka. First of all, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but when we talk about the reality of the NBA and how it's fixed, it's controlled, everything is premeditated, and we can see how it's been like that with LeBron James. He gets basically what he wants, right? And what he doesn't want, he's not going to get it, okay? And that's how the NBA is. The NBA hasn't stepped in to stop anything that involves him, whether it hurts the viewership, whether it hurts another team, whether it hurts his team, whether it hurts his coach, whether it hurts the refs, whatever like that. The NBA has never stepped in because what the NBA wants, they want the drama. They want the soap opera because I told you guys, the NBA can no longer sell itself on court play. And that was one of the main reasons why he went to Miami. This was part of the soap opera, okay? They didn't want the real soap opera to happen in 2009, 2010, which would be him playing against Kobe and him melting down in the games and on purpose, because we already did a video on that. We already proved the evidence that he didn't want to go play Kobe Bryant because Kobe Bryant was going to destroy this guy. Kobe Bryant was going to destroy this guy. And we talked about, this before in terms of Joker. And not to beat up on Joker, because Joker hasn't said nothing wrong, did nothing wrong, but it's his, butt kissers that love him so much about this MVP trophy. But what a real champion does, like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, and guys like that, you can have the MVP. I feel cheated out the MVP, but guess what? I'm gonna see you in the finals, and we'll straighten it out there. We'll see who is the real MVP and who's the real champion, right? So for me, when we talk about Joker, that's what he should be focused on. You know what I'm saying? When they took the MVP away from him, when they gave it to Joel Embiid, he should have been making a push to the finals. Well, I'm gonna show you in the finals. Well, he didn't make it to the finals last year, but this is what he should be doing this year. You can have the MVP. I know I'm the best player in the league, but I'm gonna give it to you in the finals. That's what Michael Jordan did. That's what Kobe Bryant did. They settled the score in the finals by winning something better than MVP, a championship, right? But LeBron didn't want to meet Kobe because, we already know that it won't be no GOAT debate for him, and they couldn't, push Kobe out of GOAT debate. And to this day, we keep trying to tell you, it's no reason for them to hide the videos. In the day after Kobe won the championship, we don't see no video footage of First Take, or no, I think it would have been First and 10 at the time. Videotape of First and 10. There's no Skip Bayless and whoever he was going to have on the show. Sometimes he would have Stephen A. Smith. Sometimes he would have Chris Broussard, whoever he would have on those shows, because people have told me that on those shows that they talked about Kobe and how he was number 2 behind Michael Jordan. Okay, so those videos continue to be hid from ESPN. You can find all kind of videos from just about every day, them talking about different stuff on First and 10 about Kobe, about LeBron James, whatever was going on at the time. But they don't have nothing on Kobe Bryant's championship the day after in 2009 and 2010. Wow, that's just crazy, folks. That's just nuts. So now, what I was going to try to say is, we all know why Luka Doncic went to LA. Okay, 1, to help LeBron James out because he gets whatever he wants. 2 is because them getting Luka Doncic over to LA, he's going to be the next star because LA gets whatever they want too, right? We done seen it throughout the years. From Kareem, them getting the number 1 draft pick after they won the championship, or they, lost in the championship, them getting the number 1 overall draft pick. They got Shaq, they got Kobe, they got LeBron James, they got AD, they just got countless superstars over the years. And They're the biggest market in the NBA. So this is why Luka went over there. It has nothing to do with Skip pushing this narrative, and we done heard this narrative pushed by other people on ESPN and Fox that they got rid of Luka Doncic because he was out of shape, or he wasn't going to win a championship with the Mavs. Now this big thing is he's shooting too many threes. That's why they got rid of him. Let me say for one, we could never ever talk about in this era guys shooting too many threes, because if he's talking about guys shooting too many threes and that's Luka's Achilles heel, what about the other teams? The whole NBA is shooting too many threes. Okay, Luka Doncic, okay, he's 35%. He's really never been a good three-point shooter for his career. His first 3 years, he really wasn't a good three-point shooter. And he's basically playing the same game as LeBron James, with the controlling the ball, the assists, the rebounds, and shooting a lot of threes. But he's a little bit better free throw shooter than LeBron. Hell of a better mid-range shooter than LeBron James. To me, I think he's a better driver than LeBron James, just because he doesn't have to use elbows and straight arms to come down the lane and get his shot off. Now, does he flop? Maybe he might flop. He's got better handles than LeBron James. He's a better clutch player than LeBron James. I think he's a better leader than LeBron James. We see all that. So I just, we ain't gonna make the video long, but I just thought it was, weird that you got Skip Bayless on the show doing what the rest of the ESPN, the Fox, and the media is doing, blaming Luka Doncic for shooting too many threes. Like, what? In this era? How can you shoot too many threes? We done told you before. These aren't real coaches, because these coaches won't let you shoot these ill-advised threes, these out-of-control threes, all these threes without running any kind of sets, and just taking bad shots anytime. So these aren't real head coaches. If you don't believe me, if you're a young person, turn on some old NBA. I don't know where you want to go, maybe the 2000s. But my thing is, maybe you want to go to the 90s, go to the 80s. And you watch these games and look at these coaches. What they will do is they will get on the players if they do certain things. You blown a defensive assignment, you wasn't somewhere when you were supposed to be there, you made a bad pass, just anything. You shot a bad shot, you're missing free throws, a lot of stuff, folks. And the coach will be screaming at these guys on the court, and then when the player comes back to the bench, he'll be scolding them. And I was watching, I think it was a Bulls and Knicks game, it was in the 90s the other day. I want to say it was 93 playoffs, and I guess the game before, I think Anthony Mason and Pat Riley got into it, because Pat Riley was telling him to throw the ball ahead. Stop dribbling, doing all this dribbling up the court, and throw the ball ahead. And he didn't do it. And when it came to the timeout, Riley was all over his ass. And he was screaming at him. And he grabbed one of the other players by the jersey, telling him, you should have thrown it to him. How come you didn't throw it to him? And all this stuff. So they was interviewing him. And Pat Riley was saying, look, it ain't no beef. It's not as, what the media is trying to make it look like. But and I wasn't trying to get on the way, they wrote in tabloids and stuff like that. But what I was trying to tell him is, I forget what the terminology he was trying to say. He was trying to say something. I forget what it was. But he said some terminology about getting the ball ahead or something like that. But they had a certain terminology for how they, ran sets and, stuff like this. Stuff that ain't even in the NBA today. It don't exist, folks. So he was just trying to explain in an interview, like he explained to Mason later on, the only way we can stay in the game with the Bulls and beat them and try to stay ahead if we throw the ball ahead and keep them off balance. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of fast break points, and they're running back and pretty much keep them off balance. So he pretty much straightened up the beef. But what I'm trying to say is, these aren't real head coaches today, folks. People can come on their channel and act like these guys are real head coaches. They're not, folks. They don't scream at the players. They let the players take any shots. They don't really run any sets. They run the same plays as the other team. Pick and pop, shoot all these threes, spread the floor out. Every guy shooting 3-pointers, stuff like that. Lax defense. No half court press, no full court press, nothing like that, folks. There's no accountability for these players. Okay, the coach was a coach back in the day, folks. The coach was a coach back in the day. And that's why Michael Jordan quit, because he didn't want to play with another coach. Not because all these coaches were bad, because he wasn't out just doing his thing and shooting and doing things like that. He wanted to play with a coach that he liked the way they ran the scheme. And in this instance, I guess it was Phil Jackson. And, you know, sometimes I'm just speechless. Like, people don't even know these aren't real coaches. And they get up on the podium and they act like they're real coaches. These guys ain't running no X's and O's. Ain't no fundamentals being taught. Everybody's just doing the same thing and shooting threes. And, you know, us older people, when we look at this game, we was always taught in the, you know, older generation, older than me, in how basketball was. It don't matter if you play at the YMCA, some kind of rec center, the Powell Club, and I don't know if you guys know about that. Those were like in, you know, the real poor neighborhoods, but they had like little basketball leagues there. Whatever you played in high school, college, even when we get to the pros, all the way from the 1950s to me, all the way until like 2010, the most high percentage shot was in the paint. Was in the paint. That was the high percentage shot, and then it was a 2-pointer, and then it was a 3-pointer. And the reason being that a lot of guys think today, and it's been since we've been in the 2020s, that the 3-ball, you know, is worth more points. But back in the days, yes, the 3-point was always worth more points. But how could you shoot a 3 back in the day when these dudes were all up in your grill? And you can go back and look at, you know, games back in the past. You couldn't shoot a ball like that with a dude all up in your face. You wasn't going to make it. Nobody was coming off their guard just because it was a pick and pop, or it was a, you know, all this stupid stuff like they got today. A dude will be at the top of the 3-point line, he'll start to drive, and then all of a sudden another guy come off his guy, collapse, and help that guy that's driving. And then the guy that's driving, now he's got 2 guys on him while he's driving, and he's like, well, okay, I'm gonna throw it out to the open guy. So now the guy at the 3-point line gets the ball. He's like, am I gonna shoot it, or am I gonna pass it to the other guy? Because of course another guy comes off his guy to go try to cover that guy, and it's just like a hot potato the whole damn game. But in the 90s, no guy would be coming off his guy. It wouldn't happen, because you had the best defenders were always on the floor. Okay, that don't mean they all made a defensive team or nothing like that. But when we talk about, for instance, right, John Paxson, Steve Kerr, great shooters. They were better shooters than Ron Harper and B.J. Armstrong, but they weren't better defenders. So they started over those two, over John Paxson and who was it? And Steve Kerr. You had your best defender. So what I'm trying to say is, when that guy starts to drive in the paint, ain't no guy gonna come off his guy. It's not gonna happen. And then you're met with a center that's gonna block your shot. Now, maybe he might kick it out to a 3-point guy now, or something like that, or some other guy or something like that. But the games that they played today would never happen back in the 80s, the 90s, 70s, because these guys were stout on defense. These guys today aren't stout on defense. Their defense is so ridiculous. You would just be driving, and guess what? You just be driving with your guy. Unless you would have to do some crazy move to do the layup or something like that. These aren't real head coaches today, folks. I don't care what nobody else is saying today. These aren't real head coaches. They don't run those schemes. They don't, they don't hold these guys accountable for making bad shots. They carry, they travel. The referees don't call it. Nothing like that. But the thing I was saying was, Skip Bayless, he's part of the media now. He's not the guy that's going to give it to you like he used to give it to you, which I don't think this is even a real Skip Bayless. I think this is a replacement Skip Bayless, because this ain't the old Skip Bayless from the past. He would be jamming on LeBron James to this day. But now, he's a Laker. I heard him on his podcast talking about he's a Laker. He's a Laker. He likes to see the Lakers play. That's his favorite team now. All this stuff, folks. Now, I don't know if he's saying this to get the views, but even when it comes to criticizing LeBron James now, oh boy, it's a butt lick fest now. That's what he does. He licks his butt up and down, and then he criticizes him. Or he criticizes him and start licking his butt. It's crazy, man. I guess this dude is on the Clutch payroll now, and now they're blaming Luka. They're blaming Luka. But like I said, Luka came to LA because LA gets what they want, LeBron gets what he wants, and Luka will be the face of the team once LeBron James leaves. And I'm trying to tell you guys, I've already predicted. Luka and Bronny and Reeves will be playing together. And look, Luka will still be taking the blame. And when Bronny James scores 17, or he scores 12, or he scores 15, whatever, he will be the toast and talk of the town of LA. They're pretty much just sticking it to the Lakers fans. We don't care what you like, what you want, what you're telling us. This is what we're going to give you, because the Lakers are what? They're the cash cow. They're the big market of the NBA. Okay, and that's all we got. We don't have on-court greatness no more. All we have left is to sell you a soap opera. And if we can sell you a soap, it don't matter if they win. All that don't matter. 20 teams could win before LA wins again, and LA will always be in the spotlight because the soap opera will always be there. Okay, not the 95% soap opera that the NBA is bringing. It satisfies the NBA now because the social media channels, platforms will always talk about it, and they don't care if the soap opera is bad. That's even better. That's even better for them because that's what gives the NBA the spotlight, because they don't have no players who can do what great players did back in the past, like a Tim Duncan winning all those championships, with being a leader, the Ginobili and Tony Parker and stuff like that. He didn't need a super team. Michael Jordan winning the 6 championships in the 90s, or the Showtime Lakers and the Celtics, or what Kobe and Shaq did without a super team, or what Kobe did with Paul Gasol without a super team. They don't have players like that, folks. Joker couldn't do that. Remember, Joker was supposed to win back-to-back. After he won his first championship, remember, all this talk about, oh, he's going to be unstoppable. Who's going to stop him? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, he didn't win no back-to-back. And he probably going to win this year. You don't have no players like that, folks. It took for them to get, Drew Holiday and Porzingis for Tatum to win the championship, right? Tatum can't take, Jaylen Brown and win a championship. Nope. Or win 2 championships like that. You don't have no players like that, folks. You don't have no players that could get, one Hall of Famer, or, when we look at Michael Jordan's case, the second three-peat, we won't say, Dennis Rodman was washed up, but, these players can't take some dudes that'll just play a role and just get rebounds. No. Look at Kevin Durant. He went up in Brooklyn and did what he did. He can't carry no team to no championship. Look at Greek Freak. What did he do? He won 1 championship and fizzled the hell out. Now Dame Lillard, in my opinion, I don't care what nobody says, this is going to be the new blood clot excuse. When these dudes can't come through, they're going to have some little, injury or some reason to get out of there. Just like Wemby. Let me use this excuse to get out of here because I'm not even going to make the play in. You know what I'm saying? You don't have them players like that no more, folks. That can carry a team with, I'm not trying to say they got to do it by themselves, but with like a Hall of Fame player and some role players. You don't have dudes that can win back-to-back championships or do a three-peat like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have people like Bill Russell. And we talked about, even though Bill Russell had a lot of help, that makes it even more sometimes because, we don't look at LeBron James with all this help and he hasn't been able to, achieve all this greatness because you got to manage all these attitudes. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got to play a role, and that's what Bill Russell was able to do with all these guys. We got to play a role. If Bill Russell, won like 3 championships in a row, that'll be like one thing. You know what I'm saying? Dude was able to win 11 championships with basically 2 different teams. Okay, yes, these players were great, but at the same time, you got to be able to manage all this greatness, and that's what we were talking about the other day with Shaq and Kobe. If Bill Russell, and that's why I put Bill Russell in my top 5, if Bill Russell was with Shaq, I think he would be able to manage him a little bit more. He would have him looking at the bigger overall picture like, man, okay, look, we're in LA, and, you're famous, you're big, you're Hollywood and all this stuff, but you got to look at the bigger picture. You can be bigger than Michael Jordan, right? You could win a 4-peat. Michael Jordan never won that. We could win a 5-peat. Michael Jordan never did that. You could win 8 championships, and you could still be famous, and you could do all that. But when you look at Shaq and Kobe, that combination, Kobe really didn't know how to manage him. And we already know Shaq. Once he won that 3-peat and he won 3, MVPs in a row, that's big. That put him in the class with Michael Jordan. Only Michael Jordan did that. 3 in a row and 3 finals MVPs. So, and then Kobe, he wanted to be the man. He saw that Shaq, his work ethic and stuff like that. Shaq didn't have to have no real work ethic when he was going into the 2000s because the center competition wasn't there. And because he didn't have no work ethic, he was getting fat, he was getting, and stuff like that. And Kobe wanted to be the man. So it was a big blow up there. Bill Russell never wanted to be the man. He just wanted to win. So when I say they don't have guys like Bill Russell played with a lot of guys that they all could have been a man on the team, but he was telling them, look at the bigger overall picture as a team. We could cement ourselves in history as all-time great team. And nobody will never touch that. Bill Russell in 69, they were saying all in the newspaper, the owner of the Lakers, he guaranteed to win. And okay, that's one thing. But when Bill Russell came to the arena in LA and he saw the balloons from the rafters, that kind of pissed him off. And he could have been like, okay, that's whatever. But he took it personal, right? And he went back to his team and he rallied the troops. And he said, look, let's run these dudes rugged up and down the floor all damn court. And I think he was a coach player at that time. And that's what I'm saying. He knows how to manage guys. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I thought he was assistant head coach for 2 of those championships too, if I'm not mistaken. But he said, let's run these dudes rugged. And we're talking about a Bill Russell that already had been in the league for like 12, 13 years. And, you know, Jerry West was younger. Elgin Baylor, I guess he might have been about the same age as Bill Russell. And Wilt Chamberlain was a little bit younger. But he noticed that, you know, Jerry West, he was dealing with some injuries, not like Wilt, but Wilt was dealing with, have been dealing with, some major injuries. But, like I said, he caught wind of that and he saw the balloons up in the rafters and he was pissed. So he told his team, let's run these dudes rugged until they give out. And that's what happened to the Wilt's leg in that game. His leg basically gave out. And if I'm not mistaken, I think halfway through the fourth quarter, he had to sit the rest of the game, folks. And they won that game. So what I'm trying to say is you don't have guys like that no more. And not that Shaq is a leader, and we already know he's not a leader. But without Kobe, he would never got that done because Kobe wanted it more than Shaq. Kobe had that work ethic, and both of them complemented each other and stuff like that. But because of LeBron James' era going to Miami, you don't have those guys like that no more. Okay, that can rally the troops, that can win with minimal help. We saw Dirk do it against LeBron James' super team. We saw Tim Duncan do it all through the 2000s. But the biggest thing was he took it personal, right? In 2013, when he lost that championship, he said, what? I'm going to give the whole league. And basically, he was on his last leg. Yes, he played a few more seasons after that. But as far as, his top level talent, he was basically on his last leg. But when he lost that championship 2013 by that much, just by a hair, he took it personal. And he rallied the troops and he told those guys, basically, let's destroy the league all year. And that's what they did. Could you imagine destroying the West? That's what they did in the East. And then they met Miami in the finals and destroyed them, right? Old Tim Duncan with basically old Ginobili and a lot of miles on Tony Parker. So that, to me, that was the last of the, guys that could be real leaders and do it with minimal help. You know what I'm saying? Tim Duncan wasn't playing with guys that were like top 5. Where does Tony Parker and Ginobili rank all time? Who knows, man? They might be way down under like 75 or something like that. They're not top 75 players or nothing like that. So they're way under 75. Okay? So this is the type of NBA we got now, folks. And it, since 2015, until now, you don't have those type of guys. And LeBron James pretty much set the standard that you can't win with just a little help and some good role players. That's the standard LeBron James set. And I know there's been other guys who have done it, like Greek Freak, Joker, and, Curry to an extent, winning 2 championships. But I'm just saying, winning back-to-back championships, winning 4 championships, 5 championships, and stuff like that. You don't have those guys no more, folks. You just don't have them no more. And that's why the NBA really is like it is. All they can't bring you no on-court greatness from real leaders that could take one Hall of Fame teammate and some role players and win a whole bunch of championships. So this is what the NBA now decides to bring you: a big ass soap opera. That's it. And to me, the young people should feel cheated about it. They should feel cheated. But they don't. They worship this nonsense and this big soap opera. And we can see what the NBA has gave us. And the fans have spoke a long time ago. I mean, the ratings are so bad because the stuff I just told you from all-time greats, how they were able to achieve greatness, doing it the right way. That's when the NBA was at an all-time high, right? Okay, we talk about a dude like Hakeem Olajuwon, another example, right? Won back-to-back championships with minimal help. Yes, he ended up getting Clyde Drexler on the second one. Clyde Drexler, he was on his last leg, man. But he still took one Hall of Fame player and won a championship on a second back-to-back. And that's what he did, because he was a real leader. If you get real leaders, like I said, guys not out here playing for stats, and it's kind of hard today because you don't have real coaches and you don't have real referees and stuff like that. But when you got guys like that back in the day, that's a real leader and a prime time player, guess what? The other players are going to want to play for you. The other great guys are going to want to play for you. The other role players. But to me, there's no real leaders in this game. There's no real leaders. I can't name one. I can't. Show me one. Tell me one. A real leader, or just dudes out here playing basketball, trying to get stats, collect a paycheck. You don't have them. So this is what you got with that. That's another reason why I was trying to tell you why they started these debate shows, to bring you a soap opera more than what's going on. I told you back in the day, the soap opera was the on-court greatness. That's what it was. Whatever happened on the court became the soap opera. Okay? The rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics. Okay? That was the soap opera. The rivalry between the Lakers and the Pistons. The rivalry between the Bulls and the Pistons. That was the soap opera. Okay? The Knicks and the Bulls. That was the soap opera. The soap opera was always about the on-court greatness. Now, because there's no on-court greatness, they just bring you a soap opera. Because there's no on-court greatness. There's no rivalries. There's no leaders. There's no accountability. There's no fundamentals. There's no X's and O's. There's no coaches battling each other in the papers, talking ish and doing all this stuff. There's no real soap opera, folks. So the media, and this is what's so crazy, the media has found a way to get paid all this money to create a soap opera for the NBA, for the players. A soap opera that don't even exist. A soap opera that ain't built on court greatness. Nope.